live from the third ring of hell.
If you don't believe in hell.
Well said. Anyway, from the parking lot of Sprouts Market, we are.
Thing, see?
Yes, we're.
You
As
have
I
to
said,
believe in hell.
the third ring of hell. Anyway, yes, I spilled coffee. Yes, I'm not supposed to call your attention to the fact that through no fault of my own, I spilled coffee on my coffee-colored shirt. Thank God.
That was why you didn't wear a better shirt.
Yes, that's right.
Because
I'm
you
turning.
had a premonition that you didn't even realize.
Yes, that happens once you become an illuminated master.
But what good is a premonition that you don't know you have?
That's my shirt is still stained.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now all you have to do is forget about it. You'll be perfect.
Oh. If all of our troubles were so. Hey, they are. Anyway, boy, you did a tour de force last night at Monday night class.
What? I didn't do a tour de force. You had class. I spoke at the end, and people had patience with me.
That's
endurance.
That may all well be true, but it was really good.
We did a class on, Lon did a class, and I helped it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't talk at the beginning. I kept waiting for you to let me talk, but then you just kept talking and talking.
I'm just the Buddha's warm-up act.
The warm-up act took 80% of the class, so it was okay. I didn't care. I got my licks in at the end. So anyway, we did a class. I'll tell them what it was about. Oh, well, first of all, I want to say this morning we woke up a little early, which explains why we're a little late. Well, because the stores only open up at a certain time. And anyway, and big lightning.
Huge lightning.
All around us. And a few drops of rain. But it didn't really cool off much.
But a lot of lightning, which wasn't in the forecast. It just all of a sudden something built up over Fresno. We have to blame something going on in Fresno that caused it. Then it drifted north to us. And,
maybe God was attacking ice.
Well, if it's a God of judgment, I would say it's well deserved.
It's no God of judgment.
Yeah.
By accident.
But anyway, so
There are no accidents.
yeah.
Anyway, we had exciting lightning, and it was a nice change of pace.
It was, and it
Probably made somebody's corn grow.
My mind's going a million miles an hour, but with obscene, suggestive comebacks for that.
Lightning makes corn grow. We used to have lightning storms in Nebraska, and the next morning the corn would actually be 6 inches taller, and you could
At least, yeah.
At least you can measure it because of the nitrogen fixing that lightning does.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what were we talking about at class last night?
It was
That
my,
I so
it was
carefully-
my idea of a class, but then I thought we had it settled, and then I found out Lon had a totally different plan.
No, I had no.
He had no idea. What
I
I
had
was
no
talking
plans.
About.
Yes.
Yes, you did. You had paper written out and everything.
Oh
questions
yeah,
and stuff.
that's.
Anyway, we did a class on. Well, we started to talk about the hippie reading list, and because Crowley has and there's an OTO and an AA reading list of things that. We have to remember about that list. Is a lot of it's good, but also a great deal of it might be different, longer or shorter, because they didn't have as much since the 60s. The world has opened up with more esoteric knowledge and wonderful books that did not exist then to be on that list, the OTO and AA reading list, and it's what Crowley had available to him at the time and place, which was pretty. Anyway, not that they're bad. I'm just saying the list would be much more extensive, and maybe a few things would be.
We have a
replaced.
wider assortment of really good esoteric literature that he didn't have. He really had to dig it out of university.
And so we also had we kind of went through our own personal history of some of the childhood books and TV. Lon did a lot of TV and movie stuff that he did watched, because he's less of a reader than me, because I worked at the library and was fortunate to be surrounded by tempting books. Anyway, so we talked about our personal reading history, kind of, and
just to see who we are, what made us what we are.
Yeah, I kind of realized for everyone it would be kind of interesting for everyone out there in whatever in TV land.
In TV land,
I
hello,
used to call it that.
boys and girls.
Boys and girls, to just make a list, not formal, just get a scrap of paper and make a list and start thinking about the books your parents read to you that are your favorites, and the stuff you watched on TV and movies you saw, or what you did do that, or music you listened to at different ages, from like birth to 11 or something like that, and then from 11 to the end of high school, and then from high school till you're a little, go in stages, and just notice what influenced you, and why did they influence you, or did you influence your choice? What influenced your choices?
And are those same factors still at work in what's occupying you today? Yeah.
Yes, well, I know that, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
If you learn something when you're 1 day old, that is something you learned, and it's not to be thrown out. So anyway, we had a good time naming. You gonna name a few of the things?
Mm-hmm. Sure. We had you brought out a lot of the physical books that are our talismanic history books.
Yeah. Well, because I read them.
Yeah. I brought one of my favorites with me too.
Well, it's the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. We had that. Yeah. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about. Well, I had a paper with my list on it, and must have left it in the driveway or in the house before we left.
What are a few of them?
What childhood books?
Yeah.
Well, my parents read to me, and I had my own little library with a bookcase that my grandpa made me that I still have.
It's in our bedroom.
Yes. Not used as a bookcase, but it has stuff in it. Anyway, because we have lots of other bookcases now. No, my parents read me, of course, every child of our age probably got Grimm's fairy tales. And those are books you didn't actually choose yourself, and you probably wouldn't have. And they were grim, but they made you feel like they were magical. They were magical, and it made you think there was time past when things were different.
There was a once upon a time.
There was a once upon a time when things were different. And then there used to be little golden books that were cheap. They probably still are, and they're not cheap. But they were always sort of slightly, they had a moral, a lesson, and were cheerful and sort of progressive. And after the baby boomer books, they were all nice. I had my favorites were like the Two Little Gardeners with the most beautiful illustrations. I don't know what. It talks about it was like almost a whole season, a year, starting planting, preparing the soil and planting seeds and watching things grow, and then canning things and using a root cellar. It was all just beautiful. The art was just amazing. I still have that book too.
But you really went on about
the Chirkin
the Chirkin goose.
No, Chirkin Deuce.
Chirkin Deuce.
It's about a bird that's lived in a barnyard, and he's part chicken, part turkey, part duck, and part goose. And I still have that book too. And it really, I have a feeling that I said they'd probably ban it now. It was probably about after the war, there was, and Korean War and everything, excuse me, there was a lot of mixed marriages of different races.
GIs coming home.
So coming home with Asian wives and and black and white people were getting married finally, and even though it probably wasn't legal, but it was happening more everywhere.
Things were starting to change. Yeah.
And besides that, it was just in his whole perspective was this bird. The Chircondeus was born, and everybody made fun of him because he was part chicken, part duck, part turkey, and part goose, and because he had webbed feet. And he just danced around. He did this fabulous flapping dance with his feet, tap dance like with his webbed feet.
So he walked funny.
He walked funny too, and he was very odd, but he was cheerful and all this. But anyway, but they made fun of him, and he was feeling bad. But then some kind of predator came to the barnyard that was going to eat all the other birds, and he did this goofy tap dance at it, and it got scared of him because he was so goofy, and it ran away, and so he saved them all.
Saved the barnyard.
And so they all loved him after that. And it was kind of the moral of the story was that, you can't, don't judge people. I mean, it's like everybody's, the whole line kept saying, he had this poem. It depends on how you look at things.
It depends on how you look at things.
I mean, your perspective is how. So look at everybody with the perspective as if they were you.
Yeah. From a social point of view, that was very advanced and progressive. But from a metaphysical point of view, it was also very insightful about the observations.
It was really good. It was a really good children's book. And then I liked Nurse Nancy. I remember that book because I said it had like 4 real Band-Aids.
It came with Band-Aids.
4 real Band-Aids in the back of it. That was awesome. And then I remember, when we were a little older, I read astronomy books and every heroic dog book and Black Beauty and things like that. And then later it was Edgar Allan Poe and
Shakespeare
and Jane Austen and Emily Dickinson. I like poetry, and Elizabeth Barrett Browning and the love sonnets of Shakespeare, and I can't remember some of the stuff I talked about. I don't remember anymore. And Huckleberry Finn, of course. You have to read Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer as well, but I read Huckleberry Finn more times. And Scaramouche and the Scarlet Pimpernel, and I liked biography. And then older, I liked biographies. I read Ben Franklin's autobiography and Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, and the biography of Ramakrishna, and the life of Buddha, and what else did I've mentioned? Anyway, and then the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Prophet, and I don't know. We went on a long.
And all of we went on a Yogi Ramacharaka, the Yogi Publications books for a long time, which were very, very influential with us. And I'm turning it back on me for a second.
Oh, I thought you already had.
No, what did I do there? I'm going to turn it back on myself. Yeah, the Yogi Ramacharaka books, they got us into yoga, besides Autobiography of a Yogi, but and we just found out many years later that they were all written by a guy named William Walker Atkinson, who was like a chiropractor or something, and I forget where, but they were really, really good. And he was with the Mabel Collins, Annie Besant kind of theosophical kind of people, but anyway, they made us who we are.
Well, so did the music we listened to, most especially the Beatles. If you flipping this on me again, I don't know. Get it off.
Oh, get it off here. Okay.
Especially the Beatles, and we also listened to Joan Baez, and Lon had a good list yesterday too. Because
I didn't do much reading. Okay, I think I have attention deficit.
That's a good excuse for not much.
No, well, that's because I'm lazy. So I'm glad they came up with a term for my laziness.
No,
but I was a class clown and I acted out and things like that. But my literature was, and I consider it literature, was what I watched in the early days of television and movies. I spent a great deal of time every weekend at the theater, just because it wasn't home. No, because I love the
Lon
theater.
had an adult childhood, and I had a childhood.
Yes.
When we were teenagers, we read by accident progressive books by Watermelon Man and Black Like Me, and I mean that stuff was available in paperback in drugstores in Columbus, Nebraska in the '60s. Even for strangely,
we were very lucky in what we were attracted to and what we stumbled into.
Right. Anyway, I named my favorite Crowley books.
Okay, so what are your favorite Crowley books?
Something I think I still can remember my list. If I forgot one, you remember.
Okay.
The Holy Books of Thelema, which are very conclusive. A lot of stuff's in there, but absolutely, if that's the only thing I could have, I'd have that.
Yeah, the 13 channeled material. We could say it was channeled material.
Right.
Crowley,
Not all of it, but most of the Holy Books.
Considered.
No, I mean because there's like the history lections in there too, and that's not.
Yeah. Well, that's under the title, the Holy Books of Thelema, but
the Holy Books of Thelema.
The true holy books are those 13 documents. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm going by what the book is. That book has
and it's usually published with a history lection at the very beginning as a foreword.
Anyway, there's the Holy Books of Thelema.
Yeah.
As whatever my book says it is. and the Law is for All.
Which is Crowley's own comments, like 2.5 sets of Crowley's own comments on the Book of the Law.
The Vision and the Voice.
Yeah. His visionary experience going through the 30 Aethers.
And the Book of Thoth.
Yeah. The book that you've got to read every 6 months for the rest of your life because it becomes a different book every time you read it.
The Holy Books as well.
Oh, the Holy Books, yeah.
I think the last one was Magic and Theory and Practice, which is hard to believe, but we did so many classes on it previously that took a year or so that I actually began to like it, but we didn't have time for the footnotes usually, so I wrote especially the footnotes.
And that's what we're going to do for next week's class.
We're going to pick a few good footnotes and go at them.
Next week's Monday Night Magic class will be footnotes of Magic and Theory and Practice.
A few of them.
Well, I don't think we can get them all, but...
We of course we couldn't get them all. There are hundreds.
Yeah, but some of them are only a couple lines long. Okay.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve discussion.
Well, we'll talk about this when the children aren't in the room.
We won't talk about it because whatever I say, Lon won't listen to anyway. He'll do whatever he wants.
There you go. There's that attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, that's no. That means I just don't want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, that's always a help. That certainly triggers it. An episode. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to go shopping on that note.
Okay, you go shopping. Let's.
Well, I would say as a journey of self-discovery, make this list yourself on scrap paper. No big thing. While you're having, if you have a break during the day, make a list, and you'll find out later during the day. Oh, I forgot to put this on. Your list will grow, but that doesn't matter.
Number one, you don't think about it otherwise. Secondly, you don't know the trajectory of your own growth.
You don't know where you came from, and so how can you know where you're going?
There you go. That's well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
No, I'm sure you could have, but
okay.
I spoke first while I had the chance.
Well, you got a word in edgewise. Okay, I'm setting this up here and allowing us to rearrange things. Thank you, dear. I
just realized that I'm a greedy songbird, and you like to be the center of attention.
That makes us the perfect.
What?
Conflict. Okay, bye, dear.
That was worthless.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to talk about it. But first of all, what we were talking about, Crowley's recommended reading list. It wasn't really called the recommended reading list. You can find it in the appendices of Magic and Theory and Practice, and you can find it, in the big book 4 and everything else. But it's a two-part. It's the curriculum of the AA course, and there's a course of general reading. The first section is books for serious study. This is what Crowley. Now remember, he's writing this probably in the 1920s, when a lot of Magic and Theory and Practice was being compiled. And the AA as a serious thing in Crowley's mind as an organization had been formulated in the teens, and about the same time, the 19 teens, about the time that the Equinox series that was published every 6 months for 5 years was forming. So this is a list of books not only that were available. Many of them Crowley wrote himself, of course. He wanted to make sure that the students were at least familiar with the vocabulary of what he was talking about, kind of speaking the same language. But they were books that were available at that time. Okay, I'm not going to read them all to you, okay, but there's a list about that long, okay? And includes the Book of the Law, the Equinox, and Book 4, and Message of the Master Therian, Law of Liberty, Collected Works of Crowley. But here is what he was expecting everybody to at least be familiar with: the Yi Ching. And in those days, he was only working with an Oxford University Press series of classics. The Tao Te Ching, same thing, Oxford. Okay, we've got millions of really, really good translations today available. The Upanishads, it's Hindu literature, Hindu scripture, Hindu holy books. But the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Bhagavad Gita in a moment. Then, for as much as he liked to trash Theosophists, he didn't trash Blavatsky very much. As a matter of fact, he thought that his birth date in 1875 matched the date of the foundation of the Theosophical Society, which he thought was a very, very important cosmic event. So he's got Blavatsky's Voice of the Silence. Then he's got books on Hatha Yoga. And then just philosophy books. Erdmann's History of Philosophy. Spiritual Guide of Molinos. More Hindu literature. Then he's got Kabbalah Denudata, okay, which is published as Kabbalah Unveiled. MacGregor Mathers translated it. It's a piece of the Zohar that if you are hoping to jump right into the Kabbalah, it'll be hard for you to finish. But anyway, Zoroaster, Secret Symbols of the Rosicrucians, Essays on the Worship of Priapus, The Golden Bough. Then right in the middle of this, he's got The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine. Okay, then he's got Huxley. Okay, he's got a second list. Other books, principally fiction, of a generally suggestive and helpful kind. Now, the list that we were kind of informally preparing each person with last night was sort of like this. What were my general interests that has formed me for what I am today? He's got Zanoni and A Strange Story by Bulwer Lytton. Then he's got The Blossom and the Fruit by Mabel Collins. Now, back at the turn of the 20th century, or a little before, Mabel Collins and the Yogi Ramacharaka people wrote a beautiful, seemingly received document about as thick as the Book of the Law called Light on the Path. It's a very influential book for me. But anyway, The Golden Ass, Rape of the Lock, he's got Dracula. He's got Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass and The Arabian Nights. Now, if you're not in love with the 1001 Arabian Nights stories, even his bedtime stories, if you're not enraptured by that story, you're not going to get the full goodies out of Goetic practices. Okay, that's all I'll say there. Mort d'Arthur, Rabelais, the song Celestial. Now these are, many of these are on our list. Song Celestial, it's the Bhagavad Gita in verse. Light of Asia, which is the account of the attainment of Buddha. Hargrave Jennings, the Rosicrucians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Toward the very bottom, second to the last, the Bible. He says, various authors unknown, an amusing, it's not as amusing as it should be. The Hebrew and Greek origins are of Kabbalistic value. It also contains many magical apologies and recounts many tales of folklore and magical rites. Okay, and then he's got Rudyard Kipling's Kim, because if you're going to read all this Hindu literature and you're speaking English, Kipling is interesting. One of my favorite movies, actually, is The Man Who Would Be King. Let's see, do I have my list here anywhere? Oh, I thought I brought my list, but I guess I didn't. Oh yes, here it is. Now, when class began last night, I passed around this little questionnaire sheet here, and we didn't make anybody who didn't want to talk about what how they answered it. They didn't have to. But here's what I was getting at, because it's a Monday Night Magic class, usually centers around people who are interested in the work of Aleister Crowley, because I might not be the best, greatest, literally I am not the greatest Crowley scholar on the planet, but I have a great deal of experience with Crowley, Thelema, and the various magical practices that Crowley was interested in and that he wrote about, and that many modern magicians are also interested in those things. But we have to say right at the outset that Crowley's big contribution is Thelema, which is represents, I think, if properly understood, a major landmark in the evolution of human consciousness and the self-identity, the spiritual self-identity, the ever-evolving spiritual identity of human beings. It's bigger stuff, and it probably should most accurately be lumped into a philosophical step forward in human consciousness. And that's bigger than Crowley. Crowley may have given it voice. Part of his voice that he gave is sometimes complex and confusing, but he was stuck with doing it in the same way that prophets of old are seen as pretty crazy, locust-eating, crazy people, but their babblings made sense if you were in tune to the changing, the changes taking place in human consciousness. So in other words, you don't have to like or appreciate the style of any prophet, but that doesn't mean that what they are, the spiritual truths that they are announcing are not valid, okay? So here's because everybody comes to class thinking, well, we're going to learn about Aleister Crowley's magic. And we did a thing on Goetia, we did a thing on Enochian, we do that. But Thelema is bigger than any of those magical systems. The utilizing and being in harmony with, for lack of a better term, the thelemic formula of this new self-identity makes doing magic more efficient. Okay, it truly is more efficient to do your Enochian magic or your Goetic magic or your planetary magic, or it's more effective. As a matter of fact, it's truly yet more effective if you, let's say, now realize that the sun doesn't go around the earth, that the earth goes around the sun. Okay? That's an advance. It doesn't negate magical systems that were developed when you thought the sun went around the earth, but it sure makes them a lot better, more efficient with this new step. Well, this new step is that Thelema thing. So it makes the magician, a more viable wielder of magical power and force if they're in tune with the latest new formula. Okay, so because most people coming to class want to hear about this Aleister Crowley thing, here's what I did. I started out by saying, how old were you when you read your first Aleister Crowley book? Now, for many of us, that's pretty late. That's pretty late. You probably didn't seriously read our first Aleister Crowley book, in our pre-teens or anything. Okay, so how old were you? And for lots of us, at least say 24, 28 or something like that. What was the book? Okay, if you remember what that was, oh, well, I read Magic Without Tears or something like that. What drew you to that particular book? Okay, and here is where sometimes we unexpectedly stumble upon a synchronicity that we never before ever viewed as a synchronicity. Oh, it was given to me by my brother, who Okay, who didn't read it but knew I had the Thoth Tarot deck or something. It's usually a magical event of some kind. Oh yes, the one-armed man gave that to me before he spontaneously human combusted or something. Okay, I got to get moving here. What drew you to that particular book? Okay, question 2. How old were you when you read your first magical, mystical type book? And this can go way back to your, as Constance Grimm's fairy tales. What were they? And what drew you to those particular books? Now this, what drew you, is what I'm trying to drive home here. Because no matter how old you were when all of this was happening back then, you're still being drawn to things. And it's really nice to every once in a while look back and come to terms with what drew you at that time to this, what drew you at this time to that, okay? Okay, question 3, before you read your first spiritual, magical, mystical type book, what did you enjoy reading or studying? Or in my case, also, watching on at the theater. Do you recall why you were drawn to those works? And then finally, did either or both parents read to you as a child? Because if they did, you're getting a hint as to your initial programming. What seeds are being planted at that time? Some of them sprout and grow. Some of them don't sprout. Some of them sprout and you pull them up later. Okay. Some of them were weed seeds as they go in. But it's nice to think about it. It's nice to recall, bring it to mind. Okay. Do you remember what they read to you? Okay. Do you recall your parents themselves reading books, newspapers, magazines, the Bible, or other holy books? Do you remember seeing them do that? If so, what were they? And did your library, as growing up, did your library, your home include a small library? Dictionary, encyclopedia. My home did include a small, Dad had sort of matched sets of classic literature, and we always had a pretty updated encyclopedia, set of encyclopedia and a good dictionary. So when I started to read Edgar Allan Poe, as I guess an 8 or 9-year-old boy, I needed that encyclopedia and that dictionary to understand Edgar Allan Poe and to wade through Poe while I was waiting to get to the gory stuff, okay? But it was very helpful. What book or books would you say most influenced the direction of your life and great work? Okay, that was the question I put to everybody. And at the risk of boring you, I'm going to close with what my list was. Because, believe it or not, I am not a great reader, okay? I do read, okay? I've read all or most of what I can get my hands on that's written by Crowley, and I've read it through, and I've studied lots of it a lot. But to tell you the truth, I'm not a great, what'd you read for summertime reading? Oh God, yeah, spend so much time writing, you know, that I just don't, and I think it is that kind of an attention deficit disorder. but I exposed myself to literature intensely through the programming of early television. When I say early television, I'm saying 1950, 1951 through, it's not even today. I watch a little PBS and things like that, but it was in those that period that's called the golden age of television, probably 1951 through 65, 66. Television stopped being a source of anything but my musical interests in the mid-60s. And thank God for Ed Sullivan and the Beatles and all of that, okay, because that carried such profound spiritual dimensions to me. But anyway, when I was a kid, I watched this on television. Now, you have to remember that I was an invalid, okay? So my parents had to carry me out into the living room and sit me in front of the television, okay? And so I sat quietly and didn't fidget too much and enjoyed. We had the first television on our block in Lakewood, California. I liked the television show Topper, which had ghosts in it. And of course, I liked Howdy Doody, and later on the children's program, Captain Kangaroo. There was a KTLA, Los Angeles, local station, had a lunchtime show called Sheriff John, had cartoons and things like that. But it was so early in the days of television that they didn't have programming that was made for television, or they didn't have very much. So they depended on old motion picture, movie theater serials. Buck Rogers, Hopalong Cassidy, early Roy Rogers, early Gene Autry, okay. And those serials always, and then of course there was Superman, and those serials always included a simple melodrama of good fighting evil, and good eventually winning. But for a while, evil exploited and cheated, harmed, robbed innocent people. Most of the old cowboy movies actually included the villains were not so much bank robbers and things like that. The real villains that made the plot interesting were the real estate speculators who corrupted the sheriffs, the rich ranchers that were greedy for more and more ranch land and stealing the water from small homesteaders and things like that. That was very impressive to my young mind. And one of my favorite shows was the Cisco Kid. And the Cisco Kid, it's a wonderful set of books by O. Henry. Later, I would really love O. Henry. And it's called The Robin Hood of the Old West. And that got me interested in Robin Hood, too, who was feared by the bad and loved by the good. Anyway, it impressed me. And I saw a virtue in those stories. Oh, of course I love Papa. I love the old Our Gang, Little Rascals, and Laurel and Hardy's. And I felt like they were so familiar to me, it was almost like I helped produce those movies. I felt like an adult watching something. I felt like a child who was an adult who helped make those movies. And that's an incarnational thing that I won't get into here. There were 2 documentary series. One was called Victory at Sea, with a music score by Richard Rogers. It's just great music. But it was shortly after the war when this was produced, and it stressed the evilness of Nazis and the evilness of the military governments of Japan and Germany, and the nobility of fighting fascism. I like that. Okay. There was other things that were that impressed me a lot, including the McCarthy hearings, which were broadcast. Long clips of the McCarthy hearings of the Red Scare, and my dad saying what an asshole. What a stupid asshole. I heard my dad say asshole. I said, asshole? He doesn't look like an asshole. Is that what assholes look? Anyway, I loved Disneyland, Burns and Allen, things like that, Twilight Zone. But I really liked, when I got a little older, about 11, I liked Mike Hammer, Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. Was an incredibly violent private detective in New York. And then I bought all the Mickey Spillane books I could buy. I, the Jury, Kiss Me Deadly. I bought those books, and I enjoyed reading those books because I had already been ignited by the films. I'm still like that. Then when I discovered James Bond, I bought all of the James Bond books, and I read them before I saw any James Bond movies. Okay, and the movies that I liked as a kid was, first one I ever saw in a theater. My brother took me. I could wear crutches. And he took me to the Lakewood Theater, and we watched Plan 9 from Outer Space when it was new. And even then I thought, I can see the wires. But I loved it. I saw Plan 9 from Outer Space, Forbidden Planet. I loved High Noon, Rebel Without a Cause, Shane, Snow White, of course, all the Disney things, Pinocchio. Saw this one movie. My parents actually took me to the drive-in theater in Lakewood. Bad Day at Black Rock with Spencer Tracy. And The Time Machine. But the one, and The Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur. I just love the spectacle. But the movie that really affected me, and I watched it 5 times. I screened it 5 times in one weekend at the Columbus Theater. Elmer Gantry. Burt Lancaster plays it's a Sinclair Lewis, kind of an expose of evangelical Christian exploitation of rural consciousness. Then The Robe, To Kill a Mockingbird, Rear Window, North by Northwest, and Wizard of Oz. Okay, the books I like were Mickey Spillane, Mike Hammer, Ian Fleming, James Bond, Black Like Me, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and Mark Twain's The Mysterious Stranger. I read that over and over again. It's so dark and depressing. A Christmas Carol. I hated, and I read it still in grade school, because I had to, I think. Robinson Crusoe. I thought he was the biggest asshole jerk in. I did not enjoy Robinson Crusoe. I kept thinking, God, I wished he would have drowned. Okay. Anyway, I love the Christmas Carol. I love Dickens' The Christmas Carol, but Great Expectations just freaked me out. Okay. Now, magical stuff. Tao Te Ching, Song Celestial, Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi. Tales of Mukunda, that's stories of young Yogananda. Sri Yukteswar's Holy Science, all of Yogi Ramacharaka, Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Pantajali, the Yi Ching, Tim Leary, Alan Watts, and then The Secret Teachings of All the Ages by Manly Palmer Hall, and The Lost Keys of Freemasonry by Manly Palmer Hall. But if I was going to suggest you, if ever you were to spend a season in a cabin in the woods and just bring about 8 books with you to help, books that help you understand the other books too, it would be bring a Tao Te Ching. As a matter of fact, if you had to, just bring that. But to help you with understanding other books that you may like, read the Tao Te Ching along with the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, and pretend they were written by the same person. You'd be surprised how one helps unveil the other. Then for pure entertainment, bring Autobiography of a Yogi. And then to help you with, here's what I should do as a meditator, as bringing my spiritual understanding into my everyday life. Bring yourself a Bhagavad Gita. Okay. This Bhagavad Gita, I bound it myself in this green leather, a one-armed man, literally a one-armed man, who was a sannyasi, gave to me, and I covered this edition, which was 15 cents at a head shop in Costa Mesa, and I bound it myself with cardboard that I had cut from our commodities that we got up in Oregon. You can just open this at random and hear what Krishna is telling Arjuna and go, shit, that's exactly what I wanted to know today. Okay, it truly is a magical book. Okay, bring a Bhagavad Gita with you, and for just beauty and calm illumination, the Prophet. Now, armed with those books, bring at least these 4 holy books of Thelema. The Book of the Law, Liber 65, the heart girt with serpent, Liber 7, and Liber Tzadi. Those 4 Crowley books. Your Tao Te Ching will help you understand your Book of the Law. Your Emerald Tablet of Hermes will help you understand your Tao Te Ching. The Bhagavad Gita will help you understand Autobiography of... Okay. They're a good match. Okay. Once again, the Tao Te Ching, the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, Autobiography of a Yogi, Bhagavad Gita, the Prophet, Liber Al Vel Legis, the Book of the Law, Liber 65, Liber 7, Liber Tzadi. And all of those crazy things that I read as a kid, including Mike Hammer, James Bond, Elmer Gantry, went into the formation of Babylon. Anyway, I guess we've gone way over. I'm lucky to have any battery left in my phone here, so I'm going to sign off for today. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.